Maya stood at the edge of the bustling street, the sounds of the city swirling around her like a familiar symphony. Horns blared, people shouted, and the aroma of street food wafted through the air, a comforting reminder of the life she had built in this urban jungle. As a strong-willed Black woman navigating the complexities of a world that often underestimated her, she had learned to carve her own path, pushing against the boundaries that sought to contain her. Before you skip, just remember channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Every morning she rose before dawn, her alarm ringing out a determined melody, echoing her resolve. After a quick shower, Maya would stand in front of her mirror, her reflection staring back at her with fierce determination. She would smooth down her natural curls, apply a touch of makeup, and slip into her carefully selected outfit. Always professional, always stylish, yet practical enough for the demands of her job. Today was no different. As she adjusted her blazer, the fabric felt like armor, a shield against the challenges she faced daily. She worked as an executive assistant at a prestigious law firm, a role demanding not only efficiency, but also the ability to navigate the intricate webs of corporate politics. Maya had fought hard to earn her position, often the only person of color in the room. Yet her tenacity had won her respect among her colleagues, who had come to admire her intellect and work ethic. As she stepped out of her apartment, the sun greeted her with a warm embrace. The city was alive, and she loved every chaotic moment of it. Each day brought the promise of new opportunities, a chance to prove herself further. But today felt different. A sense of anticipation tingled in her veins. Maya made her way to the office, her heels clicking against the pavement. She often took the same route, weaving through the throngs of people, each person a part of the sprawling tapestry of life. However, as she approached the corner of 5th and Main, something caught her eye. A sleek black car idled by the curb, its tinted windows reflecting the sunlight. It seemed out of place in the midst of the daily bustle, exuding an air of mystery that stirred a feeling deep within her. Her heart raced as she walked past, an inexplicable pull urging her to look back. The car door swung open and a man stepped out, his presence commanding immediate attention. Dressed in tailored black attire, he radiated a cool confidence that was impossible to ignore. Jin, the name that danced through the whispers of the city, the Korean Mafia boss whose reputation preceded him. Maya's breath caught in her throat as their eyes met for a fleeting moment. There was something magnetic about him, a dangerous allure that sent a shiver down her spine. He seemed to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders, yet his gaze held an intense fire that captivated her. Just as quickly as it began, the moment passed, and she found herself walking away, her heart pounding in her chest. But what did it mean? She brushed the encounter aside, convincing herself that it was nothing more than a brief intersection of lives destined to remain separate. Yet, as the day unfolded, thoughts of him lingered in the back of her mind. Who was this man? What secrets lay hidden beneath his stoic exterior? The day dragged on, meetings blurring together as Maya's mind wandered. She caught herself glancing at the clock, willing the hours to pass more quickly. There was an undeniable shift within her, a stirring of curiosity that beckoned her to explore the depths of this enigmatic figure. Yet, the world she inhabited felt worlds apart from his, a realm of power, danger, and intrigue that she had never considered. As the workday came to a close, Maya gathered her things and stepped out of the office. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden hue over the city. She paused on the sidewalk, contemplating her next move. Should she go home and forget about the encounter, or was there a different path waiting to be explored? Before she could decide, her phone buzzed with a notification. She looked down to see an alert from a news app. Korean Mafia boss Jin spotted in downtown. Her heart raced again, the implications of the headline hitting her hard. This was no ordinary man. He was a powerful figure, a kingpin in a world that thrived on secrecy and danger. The article detailed his rise in the underworld, his ruthless reputation, and the rivalries that surrounded him. Maya's instincts kicked in, a mixture of fear and intrigue swelling within her. She had never been involved in anything remotely related to criminal enterprises, yet the allure of the unknown tugged at her. Suddenly, a voice interrupted her thoughts. "Hey, Maya, are you coming to the bar with us?" It was her colleague, Sarah, breaking her reverie. Yeah, just give me a second," Maya replied, shaking off the haze of her thoughts. She joined her coworkers, but her mind was still preoccupied with Jin and the world he represented. As they walked to the nearby bar, laughter filled the air, but Maya felt distant, her thoughts swirling around the encounter. What was it about him that captivated her so? The chemistry? The danger? Or perhaps the thrill of stepping into a world far removed from her own? The bar was lively, filled with the chatter of friends unwinding after a long day. Maya ordered a drink, but found it hard to focus on the conversations around her. Instead, her mind drifted back to Jen, imagining the life he led, the power he wielded, and the shadows that followed him. Hours passed, and as the laughter and music melded into a comforting backdrop, Maya felt a strange sense of longing. Her heart yearned for something more, a spark that had been missing from her life. It was then that she made a decision. This was not just a fleeting moment. She needed to learn more about Jin, to understand the man behind the facade. The following days saw her becoming increasingly obsessed with uncovering information about the enigmatic Mafia boss. Armed with her research skills, Maya dove into the depths of online databases, articles, and forums. Each revelation about Jin's life only fueled her curiosity, revealing layers of complexity that intrigued her further. She discovered that Jin was not just a ruthless leader, he was also a protector of those he cared for, a man shaped by a past that had left him hardened, yet deeply vulnerable. The more she learned, the more she felt drawn to him, her fascination transforming into an unshakable desire to understand his world. Yet, with each passing day, the reality of their lives loomed like a dark cloud over her burgeoning interest. She was an ordinary woman, and he was a powerful figure in a dangerous world. The disparity between their lives felt insurmountable, yet the connection she felt was undeniable. One evening, as she returned home from work, Maya's heart raced with the thought of Jin. She had spent the day thinking about him, imagining what it would be like to cross paths again. The streets were quieter now, and the glow of the streetlights illuminated her path as she walked. Suddenly, her phone buzzed with an unexpected message. It was a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at the rooftop of the Skyview building at midnight." Her breath caught in her throat. Could this be related to Jin? A chill ran down her spine, mixing excitement with apprehension. She hesitated for a moment, contemplating the risks of stepping into the unknown. But the thrill of the possibility tugged at her, urging her to take the leap. As the clock struck midnight, she found herself standing in front of the towering Skyview building, its silhouette piercing the night sky. The air was thick with tension as she stepped into the elevator, her heart racing with anticipation. What awaited her at the top? The elevator doors opened to reveal a breathtaking view of the city, twinkling lights stretching as far as the eye could see. But her gaze was drawn to the figure standing at the edge of the rooftop, a silhouette against the backdrop of the night sky. It was Jin. He turned as she approached, his expression unreadable, yet there was an undeniable intensity in his gaze. "You came?" he said, his voice low and smooth, sending shivers down her spine. "I didn't know if I should," Maya admitted, her heart pounding. Jin stepped closer, the distance between them evaporating in an instant. "There's something about you, Maya. I need to know more," he said, his eyes searching hers, revealing a vulnerability that contrasted sharply with his formidable reputation. In that moment, the world around them faded, and all that mattered was the connection sparking between them. But as Maya stood on the precipice of a new world, she couldn't shake the feeling that the path ahead was fraught with danger, one that would challenge everything she believed about love, loyalty, and herself. "Who are you really?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jin's response hung in the air, charged with anticipation. "I'm a man caught between two worlds, and I have a feeling that you belong in mine." As the city lights twinkled below, Maya felt the weight of his words settle over her like a cloak. The tension hung in the air, thick and palpable, as she realized that her life was about to change in ways she could never have anticipated. The question remained, was she ready to embrace the chaos and complexity of being entwined with a man like Jin? The answer felt like a spark igniting her very soul, a flame that promised both peril and passion in equal measure. Maya stood at the edge of her world, the city stretching before her like an endless sea of possibilities. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the bustling streets of downtown. She inhaled deeply, savoring the familiar scent of street food wafting through the air, mixed with the distant sounds of chatter and laughter from nearby cafes. This was her life, vibrant, chaotic, and utterly ordinary. Yet, beneath the surface, a storm was brewing, and the shadows of the unexpected encounter with Jin lingered in her mind. Before this moment, Maya had never entertained the idea that her world could intersect with someone like him. Jin was not just any man. He was a force of nature, a figure cloaked in mystery and danger. The way he held himself, with an air of authority that commanded respect, made her pulse quicken. The memory of their eye contact sent shivers down her spine, igniting a mix of fear and intrigue within her. She had built walls around her heart, fortified by the struggles she faced in a society that often overlooked her. But something about Jin threatened to breach those defenses. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Maya was a woman of resilience, fiercely independent and driven by her ambitions. A graphic designer by trade, she poured her creativity into her work at a modest agency. Her days were filled with deadlines and meetings, a steady rhythm that provided her with a sense of security. Yet, the mundane nature of her life often left her yearning for something more, a spark, an adventure, a connection that transcended the ordinary. Her small apartment was a reflection of her personality, eclectic and vibrant, filled with art pieces she had collected over the years. Each canvas told a story, a piece of her journey through life as a Black woman navigating a world that often seemed unwelcoming. Maya had fought her battles, whether it was against stereotypes at work or the microaggressions that crept into her daily encounters. But she persevered, refusing to let anyone define her. The days turned into weeks, and the memory of Jin lingered, a haunting melody that played in the back of her mind. She found herself replaying their brief conversation, dissecting every word, every glance. Each time she closed her eyes, she could see the sharp angles of his face, illuminated by the city lights, the way his lips curled into a slight smile that felt like a dangerous dance. Part of her wanted to push those thoughts aside, to reclaim her focus on her life, but another part of her felt exhilarated by the prospect of the unknown. One evening, while scrolling through her social media feed, Maya stumbled upon an article about the Korean Mafia's influence in the city. The piece detailed the power struggles, the rivalries, and the looming figure of Jung, the notorious boss who commanded both fear and respect. Her heart raced as she read the words, each sentence pulling her deeper into a world she had only brushed against. Was this the man she had encountered? The thought sent a ripple of excitement through her veins. But it was quickly followed by a wave of apprehension. Was he truly the man she had begun to feel drawn to, or was he a monster in disguise? The following day, as she strolled through the city, her mind consumed by thoughts of Jin, she found herself unintentionally tracing the path that led to the upscale restaurant where they had first met. The air was thick with anticipation as she approached the entrance, her heart pounding with each step. What if he was there? What if she could see him again? The questions swirled in her mind, the thrill of the possibility igniting something deep within her. As she entered, the familiar ambiance enveloped her. Soft music playing in the background, the clinking of glasses, and the low murmur of conversation. She scanned the room, her heart sinking slightly when she didn't see him. But just as she turned to leave, she caught a glimpse of him in the corner, his back turned to her, engaged in conversation with a group of well-dressed men. The sight of him sent a jolt through her, and she hesitated, feeling the weight of her own desires. In that moment, Maya felt a magnetic pull, a primal instinct that urged her to approach him. But doubt crept in, whispering caution into her ear. What did she really know about him? The stories she had read about the Mafia were filled with violence and betrayal. Was she ready to step into a world that could potentially consume her? With a mix of trepidation and curiosity, Maya chose to stay, finding a discreet table where she could observe him. The way he commanded the attention of those around him was mesmerizing. His presence was electric, and she couldn't help but admire the strength he exuded. Yet, there was something more, an underlying vulnerability that flickered beneath the surface, a glimpse of the man who occasionally broke through the facade. As the minutes ticked by, she noticed a shift in his demeanor. The laughter that had filled the air around him faded, replaced by a more serious tone. The men leaned in closer, their expressions serious as they engaged in a hushed conversation. Maya strained to hear snippets of their exchange, words like territory and rivals punctuating the air. Her heart raced as she realized the depth of the world Jin inhabited, a world that was far from the ordinary life she had known. Suddenly, he turned his head, his gaze sweeping across the room, and for a fleeting moment their eyes locked. Time seemed to freeze as she felt a rush of heat flooding her cheeks. There was a moment of recognition, a silent acknowledgement that sent her heart racing. He broke the connection first, returning to his conversation, but the intensity of that brief exchange lingered in the air, igniting a spark of hope and fear within her. Maya's mind raced as she grappled with her emotions. The pull towards Jin was undeniable, yet the cautionary voices in her head warned her of the potential dangers. She had fought hard to build her life, to create a space where she felt safe and secure. Could she really risk it all for a man like Jin? The weight of that question felt heavy on her shoulders, but the answer eluded her. Days turned into a blur as Maya attempted to navigate her feelings. She found herself caught in a cycle of longing and fear, oscillating between wanting to push forward and retreating into the safety of her routine. Work became a distraction, but even in the midst of her projects, her mind drifted back to Jin, the way he moved, the way he spoke, and the way he had looked at her as if she were the only person in the room. Eventually, the tension became unbearable. Maya decided to confront her feelings head-on. She was tired of living in the shadows of uncertainty, and if she was going to step into the unknown, she wanted to do it on her own terms. With newfound determination, she picked up her phone and sent a message to the number Jin had given her. "Hey, it's Maya. I was thinking, maybe we could talk?" The response came swiftly, sending a thrill through her. "I'd like that. Meet me at the rooftop bar tonight at 8? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a deep blue hue over the city, Maya prepared herself for the evening. She chose a simple yet elegant black dress that hugged her curves, a reflection of her confidence. This was a moment of reckoning, a chance to confront the connection that had been simmering between them. When she arrived at the rooftop bar, the view took her breath away. The city sprawled beneath her, a sea of twinkling lights that felt both exhilarating and overwhelming. She spotted Jin standing by the edge, his silhouette framed against the skyline. The moment she approached, he turned and the world around her faded away. It was just the two of them, suspended in a moment that felt electric. "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice low and smooth, sending a shiver down her spine. There was an intensity in his gaze that made her heart race, a hint of vulnerability that contrasted sharply with the image of the powerful man she had seen before. "I wanted to understand," she replied, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions churning inside her. "Who you are, what you want." Jin studied her for a moment, his expression inscrutable. "What I want is complicated, but what I feel when I'm with you is not." The admission hung in the air, a raw honesty that took Maya by surprise. She felt as if the ground beneath her was shifting, the gravity of his words pulling her closer to him. "Then let's explore that," she said, her heart pounding. "But I need to know what I'm getting into." He stepped closer, the distance between them shrinking as he ran a hand through his dark hair, a gesture that revealed a glimpse of the man behind the boss. "I'm involved in a world that can be dangerous, but with you, I want to be someone different. I want to protect you, to show you the real me." Maya's breath hitched in her throat. The promise in his words felt like both a sweet temptation and a looming threat. "I don't want to be a pawn in your game, Jin." He nodded, a flicker of understanding passing between them. "You won't be. You would be my partner, if you choose to accept it, but I won't force you." The weight of his sincerity hung in the air, and for the first time, Maya felt the walls she had built around her heart begin to crack. She had always considered herself a fighter, a woman who stood her ground. But with Jin, something shifted, a yearning for connection, for understanding, for a love that transcended the ordinary. As they stood there, the wind tousling her hair, Maya realized that she was standing at the precipice of something profound. The choice was hers, and whatever she decided would change the course of her life forever. The question remained, was she willing to embrace the chaos, to step into the unknown and explore the depths of her feelings for a man who existed in a world so vastly different from her own? With every heartbeat, she felt the pull of desire and danger intertwining, weaving a tapestry of emotions that promised both peril and passion. It was a dance they were destined to engage in, and as Jin stepped closer, she knew that whatever happened next would redefine everything she thought she knew about love, loyalty, and herself. The air was thick with tension as Maya stood in the lavish penthouse that belonged to Jung, the enigmatic Mafia boss who had suddenly turned her life upside down. The floor-to-ceiling windows presented a breathtaking view of the city skyline, the twinkling lights below a stark contrast to the dark world she now found herself entangled in. As she gazed out, Maya felt a shiver run down her spine, a mixture of excitement and fear swirling within her. She was still processing the revelation that Jin was not just a powerful businessman, but a man whose influence stretched far beyond what she had ever imagined. Jin's voice broke through her thoughts, deep and steady. "You don't have to be afraid, Maya." His presence was imposing, yet there was something undeniably magnetic about him, pulling her closer despite the warning bells ringing in her mind. He moved closer, the distance between them shrinking as he leaned against the counter, his eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that made her heart race. "I'm not afraid," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. I need to understand what this means." He nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. "It means you're part of my world now, whether you like it or not." Maya's pulse quickened. She had stumbled into a realm of danger and power, a world where loyalty was paramount and betrayal was always lurking in the shadows. She felt like a moth drawn to a flame, aware of the risks yet unable to resist the allure of Jin's presence. "What do you mean, part of your world?" she asked, trying to keep her voice calm. "I have my life, my job. I can't just become a pawn in your game." Jin took a step closer, his voice lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. "You're not a pawn, Maya. You're something much more valuable." The weight of his words hung between them, thickening the air. She could feel her heart racing, a mix of apprehension and exhilaration coursing through her veins. "And what exactly am I?" He paused, his gaze flickering with something she couldn't quite place. "You're my connection to the normal world. You're the reason I can still feel human in this business." Maya frowned, uncertain of what he meant. "You think I can save you?" A smirk played on his lips, a glimpse of warmth breaking through his otherwise stoic demeanor. "Not save, but ground me. You don't know how rare it is to find someone like you in my life. Someone who doesn't fear me." "Fear is the least of my worries," she muttered, crossing her arms defensively. "Exactly," he replied, a hint of admiration in his tone. "Most people see power and cower, but you challenge me." Maya felt her cheeks flush at his compliment, even as she reminded herself of the dangers surrounding them. The chemistry between them was undeniable, but it was also fraught with complications. "This is all so sudden, Jin. I barely know you." He stepped back, giving her space, and she took a breath, grateful for the distance. "Then let's change that. I'll show you my world, and you can decide if you want to stay." Her heart raced at the thought of stepping deeper into his life, a life filled with secrets and shadows. Yet, part of her was intrigued. "And if I say no?" His gaze hardened slightly. "That's not an option." The tension crackled between them, a silent understanding that this was more than just a simple attraction. It was a dangerous game of power and desire. She was drawn to him like a moth to a flame, yet the fire could easily burn her alive. "I have to think about it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Take your time, but remember," his voice dropped, the intensity returning. "This world is not forgiving. If you choose to walk away, you may find it difficult to escape." Maya shivered at the implied threat, but she stood her ground. "I'm not afraid of you, Jim. I can handle myself." He chuckled softly, a sound that both comforted and unnerved her. "I admire your spirit, but the stakes are higher than you realize." As the evening wore on, Jin began to reveal more about his life, his past, and the weight of the responsibility that came with being a mafia boss. He spoke of family loyalty, of debts owed, and blood that ran deeper than water. With every story he shared, Maya found herself drawn him further, her curiosity battling against her instincts to flee. "I never wanted this life," he confessed, his voice tinged with regret. "But when you're born into it, you don't have much of a choice." Maya watched him closely, noticing the flicker of vulnerability behind his cold exterior. "What about your dreams? What do you want?" Jin paused, his gaze drifting to the city lights beyond the window. "I wanted to be free, to live without the weight of expectation. But now, freedom comes with a price." As he spoke, she could sense the conflict within him, the struggle between who he was expected to be and who he truly wanted to be. It was a reflection of her own life, a constant battle between societal expectations and personal desires. "What if you could escape?" she asked, her heart racing at the thought of him breaking free from the chains of his past. He turned to her, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. "If I could, I would, but there are too many risks. Too many people depend on me." Maya felt a pang of sympathy for him, recognizing the burden he carried. "But what about you, Jin? What do you want for yourself?" His gaze softened, and for a brief moment she glimpsed the man behind the Mafia boss, a man capable of love and longing, a man who yearned for something more than power. "I want to love without fear," he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. Her breath hitched at his confession, the weight of his words settling over her like a heavy blanket. In that moment, she understood that they were both trapped in their own ways, bound by circumstances beyond their control. As the evening progressed, the atmosphere shifted, the tension between them evolving into something more palpable. They shared laughter and stories, each moment drawing them closer together, the barriers between their worlds beginning to blur. But as the night deepened, the reality of their situation loomed over them like a dark cloud. Maya's phone buzzed on the table, breaking the spell that had formed between them. She glanced at the screen, her heart sinking as she recognized the name. It was her boss, calling to check in. "Excuse me," she said, stepping away to answer the call. "Where are you, Maya? You missed your shift." Her boss's voice crackled through the line, laced with irritation. I'm dealing with personal matters," she replied, her mind racing. "Personal matters? You can't just leave us in the lurch. Get back here now." The frustration in his tone only heightened her anxiety. She glanced back at Jin, who was watching her intently, the playful smile from moments ago replaced by a look of concern. "I'll be there soon," she said, ending the call. As she returned to Jin, the gravity of her situation settled in. "I have to go back to work," she said, the disappointment evident in her voice. Jin stepped closer, his expression serious. "You can't keep living in two worlds, Maya. You have to choose." "I know," she said, feeling the weight of his words, "but I can't just abandon everything I've built." He nodded, understanding the conflict within her. "Then let's make a deal. Come with me tonight. Experience my world for a few hours. If you still want to walk away after that, I won't stop you." Maya hesitated, the temptation of his offer tugging at her heart. It was a chance to dive deeper into the life he led, to see the man behind the boss, and understand the complexities of his world. "Okay," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Good," he replied, a spark of approval lighting his eyes. As they stepped into the night, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that this decision would change everything. She was crossing a threshold, stepping into a world filled with danger and allure, a world where her heart would be tested in ways she could never have anticipated. The drive through the city was charged with electricity, the streets alive with energy. Jin's car glided through the urban landscape, his presence beside her both comforting and intimidating. She stole glances at him, her mind racing with questions about what lay ahead. "Where are we going?" she asked, breaking the silence that enveloped them. "To a private gathering," he replied, his tone casual, but she could sense the undercurrents of tension. "It's important for me to show you that not everything in my world is what it seems." Maya nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. She was about to step into a realm of power and influence, and with every passing moment, she felt the stakes rising. As they arrived at an exclusive venue, a high-end club pulsating with life, Maya's breath caught in her throat. The atmosphere was electric, filled with music and laughter, but beneath the surface, she sensed the weight of danger lurking in the shadows. Jin led her inside, his presence commanding attention as they navigated through the crowd. The glances they received were a mix of curiosity and respect, a reminder of the power dynamics at play. "This is my world," he said quietly, leaning closer so she could hear him over the music. "But remember, not everyone here is friendly." Maya felt a thrill of excitement mixed with apprehension. She was a stranger in this realm, yet she felt an undeniable connection to Jin, a bond that seemed to defy the chaos surrounding them. As they moved through the crowd, Maya caught snippets of conversations, whispers of deals being made and alliances formed. The glamour of the club was intoxicating, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more beneath the surface, danger lurking just out of sight. "Stay close to me," Jin instructed, his tone firm yet protective. She nodded, her heart racing as they approached a private area surrounded by velvet ropes. Jin flashed a confident smile at the bouncer, who immediately stepped aside to allow them entry. Inside, the atmosphere shifted, becoming more intimate and charged. Maya could feel the eyes of those around her scanning her, assessing her presence. It was a world where loyalty and betrayal danced in tandem, and she was a newcomer caught in the middle. Jin introduced her to several key figures, each one more intimidating than the last. They were powerful players in the Mafia world, and she could sense the weight of their gazes as they evaluated her. "Interesting choice, Jin," one man said, his voice dripping with skepticism. "Bringing a civilian into our midst?" Jin's expression hardened, a flash of irritation crossing his features. "She's not just a civilian, she's important to me." Maya felt a rush of warmth at his words, but the tension in the room was palpable. She could see the doubt in their eyes, the questioning of her worth in a world where power ruled. "Let's see how long that lasts," another man chimed in, his smirk laced with condescension. Maya bristled at their dismissive attitudes, feeling the need to assert herself. "I may be new to this world, but I'm not afraid of any of you." The room fell silent, all eyes turning toward her. Jin's gaze flickered with surprise, and something else, admiration, perhaps? "Bold words," the first man replied, his tone mocking. "Let's see if you can back them up." Jin stepped forward, his body positioning itself protectively in front of her. "You will respect her. She's with me." The tension hung heavy in the air, a silent standoff between the Mafia members and the woman who dared to challenge their perceptions. Maya felt a surge of adrenaline, a fierce determination igniting within her. As the night wore on, she navigated the complexities of the Mafia world, each interaction revealing layers of power and danger. With every passing moment, she found herself drawn deeper into Jin's life, captivated by the man behind the Mafia boss. But as the clock ticked on, she couldn't shake the realization that she was playing a dangerous game, a game where the stakes were higher than she had ever imagined. As the gathering began to dissolve, Jin leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. "Are you still with me, Maya?" Her heart raced at the intimacy of his words, the vulnerability in his gaze. "I am," she replied, her voice steady. "Good," he said, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his lips. "Because we're just getting started." With that, Maya took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever came next. She was stepping into uncharted territory, a world filled with both peril and passion, and she was determined to navigate it on her own terms. As they exited the club, the cool night air enveloped them, and Maya felt both exhilarated and terrified. She was no longer just an observer. She was part of something much bigger, a world filled with uncertainty and intrigue. Jin glanced at her, his expression serious. "You're in this now, Maya. There's no turning back." "I know," she replied, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions within her. "Are you ready for the challenges ahead?" he asked, his gaze piercing into hers. Maya took a deep breath, the weight of his question resonating within her. She was ready to embrace the chaos, to step deeper into the unknown. "Yes," she said firmly, "I'm ready." And with that, they stepped into the night, two souls entwined in a dangerous dance, their fates forever altered by the choices they had made. The tension in the air was palpable as Maya stood beside Jin, the gravity of their circumstances weighing heavily on her shoulders. She had always been fiercely independent, a woman who carved her own path through the chaos of life. Yet here she was, entwined in a world that was foreign and dangerous, with stakes higher than she had ever imagined. The confrontation that loomed ahead felt like a storm gathering on the horizon, and she had to be ready to face it head-on. As they walked towards the dimly lit warehouse where the meeting was scheduled, each step echoed with uncertainty. Jin's presence beside her was both a comfort and a source of anxiety. He was a man of power, a formidable force in the underworld, and yet there was a vulnerability to him that Maya had begun to recognize. The cold exterior that he presented to the world was slowly thawing in her presence, revealing the layers of a man who had endured pain and loss. She was drawn to that vulnerability, the way it contrasted with his strength, but she also understood the risks that came with it. "Stay close to me," Jin instructed, his voice low and commanding. There was an edge to his tone, a protective instinct that sent a thrill through her. "Trust me, Maya, this is not a place for the faint of heart." "I know," she replied, her resolve solidifying. "I'm not here to hide. I want to be part of this." He turned to look at her, his dark eyes searching hers for a moment that felt like an eternity. "You have no idea what you're asking for." "Maybe not," she admitted, her heart racing. "But I can't walk away now, not after everything." With a curt nod, Jin led her inside the warehouse. The interior was dim, illuminated by flickering fluorescent lights that cast eerie shadows on the concrete walls. The scent of oil and rust filled the air, mingling with the tension that crackled like electricity. A long table was set up in the center, surrounded by men who exuded power and menace. They were seated, eyes sharp and calculating, their gazes falling on Maya and Jin as they entered. "Boss," one of the men greeted, his voice gravelly. "You brought her." "Yes," Jin replied, his tone firm. "She's with me." Maya felt the weight of their scrutiny, their eyes sizing her up as if she were an object to be assessed. She swallowed hard, reminding herself of her strength. She was not just a pawn in this game, she was a player, and she intended to prove it. "Why the sudden interest in a woman from the streets?" another man sneered. "She's just a distraction, boss." Maya bristled at his words, a fire igniting within her. "I'm not a distraction," she shot back, surprising even herself with the intensity of her voice. "I'm here to support Jin and the work he's doing. I'm not afraid of this world." The room fell silent, all eyes on her as Jin's expression shifted. There was a flicker of admiration in his gaze, and it fueled her determination. "You see," she continued, "I faced challenges my entire life. I'm not backing down now." "Bold," the first man remarked, a hint of amusement creeping into his tone. "Let's see if you can back it up." Jin stepped forward, placing a hand on Maya's shoulder, a gesture that felt both protective and possessive. "She's not just anyone. She's part of my world now, and she will prove her worth." The men exchanged glances, skepticism mixed with curiosity. The atmosphere thickened, and Maya sensed the tension shifting. This was a test, a moment where she could either solidify her place or risk being dismissed. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of Jin's hand on her shoulder, a reminder that she was not alone in this. "What do you propose?" the man at the head of the table asked, his voice low and commanding. "How do you plan to prove yourself?" Maya's mind raced as she considered her options. "I want to help with the logistics," she said, her voice steady. "I have experience in project management. I can streamline operations, find solutions, and help you all work more efficiently." The men exchanged skeptical looks, but Jin's grip on her shoulder tightened slightly, a silent affirmation of her resolve. "She's right," he interjected. Maya can bring a fresh perspective to our operations. Give her a chance. The man at the head studied her intently, weighing the decision. Fine, we'll give you a week, he said finally. If you can pull off what you claim, you'll earn your place here. If not, he let the threat hang in the air, a warning that sent chills down Maya's spine. I won't let you down, she promised, meeting his gaze with unwavering conviction. As the meeting continued, Maya found herself immersed in a world of strategy and power plays. The men discussed their plans, and she listened intently, absorbing every detail. The more she learned, the more she realized the stakes were much higher than she had anticipated. This was not just about her proving herself. It was about survival, loyalty, and navigating a world where betrayal lurked around every corner. After the meeting concluded, Maya and Jin stepped outside into the cool night air. The adrenaline still coursed through her veins, and she felt a sense of exhilaration mixed with apprehension. You did well in there, Jin said, his voice low and steady. Thanks, she replied, a smile breaking through her earlier tension. But I know this is just the beginning. It is, he agreed, his expression serious. And the challenges are only going to get tougher. You're stepping into a dangerous world, Maya. I'm aware, she said, her tone resolute. But I'm willing to fight for my place. I want to be by your side. He turned to her, his gaze penetrating. This isn't just about you and me. There are people who would use you against me. You have to be cautious. I understand that, she said, her heart pounding. But I won't let fear dictate my choices. I want to be part of this, Jin. I want you... Before she could finish, a sudden commotion erupted nearby, shattering the fragile moment. The sound of raised voices and shuffling feet echoed through the alley, and Maya's pulse quickened. Jin's expression hardened, and he instinctively positioned himself in front of her, a protective barrier against the unknown threat. Stay behind me, he commanded, his tone leaving no room for argument. Maya pressed her back against the wall, her breath hitching as she peered around him. A group of men emerged from the shadows, their faces obscured, but their intentions clear. The tension in the air thickened as they approached, hostility radiating from their every move. Jung, one of the men sneered, stepping forward. You've been making quite a name for yourself lately, but I think it's time to remind you who really runs this city. Maya's heart raced as she recognized the voice. It belonged to a rival gang leader, someone who had been a thorn in Jin's side for years. The threat was palpable, and she could feel the electricity crackling in the air. Get out of here, Jin warned, his tone icy. Is that so? The rival leader taunted, a cruel smile playing on his lips. I think you've been getting a bit too comfortable, and I can't let that slide. In that moment, everything shifted. Maya could see the danger escalating, and she knew they had to act fast. She stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fear bubbling inside her. You have no idea what you're dealing with. The rival leader's gaze swung to her, surprise flickering in his eyes. And who might you be? Just another pawn in Jin's game? I'm not a pawn, Maya shot back, her defiance shining through. I'm here to support him, and I won't let you intimidate us. The tension crackled around them like a live wire, and for a moment, silence reigned. Jin's eyes widened slightly, a mix of admiration and caution as he regarded her. Maya, no, she interrupted, meeting his gaze with determination. I can handle this. We're in this together, remember? The rival laughed, a sharp, mocking sound that echoed in the night. You think you can stand against me? You have no idea what I'm capable of. But Maya stood her ground, her heart pounding fiercely in her chest. And you have no idea what we're capable of together. You're underestimating us. With a quick glance, Jin seemed to come to a realization. There was strength in unity, and they could face this threat together. "Let's show them who we are," he said, his voice steady. In that moment, everything shifted. The rival leader's expression morphed from amusement to anger, and he took a menacing step forward. "You're making a mistake, Jin. This is your last warning." But Maya was no longer afraid. With Jin at her side, she felt a surge of courage. "We're not backing down," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. "You can try, but you'll find we're not easily intimidated." The standoff escalated as the rival leader's men began to move. But before they could advance, Jin sprang into action. He was a force of nature, his movements fluid and powerful as he engaged the first attacker. Maya's heart raced as she followed suit, determined to stand her ground. The chaos erupted around them, a flurry of energy and adrenaline as the two sides clashed. Maya fought alongside Jin, her instincts kicking in as she maneuvered through the fray. Every punch thrown, every kick landed, felt like a testament to her strength and resolve. This was her world now, and she would not be a victim. Amidst the chaos, Maya caught a glimpse of Jin's fierce determination. He fought with an intensity that sent a thrill through her, a reminder of the bond they shared in this dangerous game. Together, they were an unstoppable force, a blending of strength and courage that defied the odds. As the confrontation reached its peak, Maya and Jin found themselves back to back, fending off attackers from all sides. The adrenaline surged through Maya's veins, fueling her spirit as she fought not just for herself, but for the man who had become her anchor in this tumultuous world. "Stay close," Jin shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "I've got your back," she responded, a fierce smile breaking through the tension. With each passing moment, they fought as a unit, their movements synchronized as if they were dancing a dangerous tango. Maya could feel the chemistry between them intensifying, entwined in a battle that tested their limits. It was exhilarating and terrifying, a reminder that they were both in this together, facing the world side by side. Finally, as the last of the rival gang members fell back, the tide shifted. The remaining attackers hesitated, sensing the unity and strength radiating from Maya and Jin. The momentum had turned, and it was clear they were not to be trifled with. "Enough," the rival leader shouted, backing away as he realized the fight was lost. "This isn't over, Jung. You'll regret this." Maya and Jin stood together, their chests heaving with exertion as they watched the rival gang retreat into the shadows. The adrenaline began to fade, replaced by the reality of what had just transpired. They had fought together, had faced the danger head-on, and emerged victorious. Jin turned to Maya, his expression a mix of pride and concern. "You were incredible out there," he said, his voice low and earnest. "I couldn't let you face them alone," she replied, her heart racing. "We're a team, right?" He stepped closer, his gaze locking onto hers. "Yes, we are. And I need you to understand that this was just the beginning. They won't stop coming for us." Maya nodded, her resolve solidifying. "I'm ready for whatever comes next, Jin. We'll face it together." In that moment, the air between them shifted, an undeniable connection sparking to life. They were no longer just two individuals caught in a dangerous game. They were a unit, bound by the trials they had faced and the challenges still ahead. As they stood side by side, the city stretched out before them, a sprawling landscape of possibility and danger. They had chosen this path together, and no matter what lay ahead, they would face it hand in hand. The promise of tomorrow loomed on the horizon, and Maya knew in her heart that she belonged to this world, to Jin, and that together they could weather any storm that came their way. As they turned to leave the alley, the night air enveloped them, promising new challenges and adventures. Maya felt a sense of determination settle within her. She was no longer just a pawn in a game, but a player, ready to embrace every twist and turn that awaited them in this dangerous dance of love and loyalty. And as they stepped into the night, the city buzzed around them, unaware of the fierce alliance that had just been forged, a bond that would change the course of their lives forever.